Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Right, so we are going to find about in this particular chapter we are going to discuss about the different animals and plants that are living in the various environments. Now, taking this as an example, we'll discuss about a particular animal called as the camel. Now all of you must know that camel is called as the ship of the desert. Why is it called so? Because it is one of the most successful animals of the desert. And why is it called as the ship? Because human beings use this animal for various purposes. One of the major purpose is transportation, right? So what are the different adaptations, or what are the different kinds of characteristics that is present in an animal, in this particular animal, which helps it in surviving this desert's harsh environment? So when we talk about the environment is hot. The environment is hot and dry. So when we say, like I explained, when we say hot and dry, that means availability of water is quite less, and the temperature rises up to, in deserts, the temperature rises up to 50 degrees Celsius. So it's quite hot. So the body of the camel is such that it helps in the survival in these harsh environments. So what it has to save itself from? First of all, it needs to save itself from the heat, and second of all, it needs to conserve water to survive. These are the two basic things the animal needs to do, right? So in camel, we find there are different characteristics which helps it to achieve these goals, right? What are those characteristics? Let's discuss. So first of all, the camels have long legs, right? Long legs, how do these long legs help? So these long legs, as you can see, help the camel to stay away from the hot sand. During the day, the sand becomes really hot, and if the body was closer to the to the sand, it would heat the whole body, right? Whereas when these long legs are present, they help in lifting up the body to quite a distance, right? So that the body does not come in contact with the hot sand, right? So this is one of the ways in which the animal avoids the hot sand during the daytime. You must have seen in various, and I'm pretty sure all of you must have seen a camel also. So you must have seen how large it is, how tall it is, right? And you can see it traveling during the day as well. The reason is, one of the reasons is its long leg, which helps in moving from one part of the desert to the other. And this is one of the reasons why it is also called as the ship of the desert, right? Now, apart from that, when we talk about, this is from the safety, this particular adaptation is safety from heat. It is to safeguard the animal from heat, right? The other adaptation is secretion of very little, or excretion, let's say excretion of small amount of urine, right? So very little urine is passed. Urine is mostly made up of water. We know that urine is 95% water mixed with other toxic substances. But in the case of camel, very small amount of urine is excreted, hence conserving the water, right? So conservation of water is seen in the body, right? Very little amount of urine helps the body to conserve the water which is present inside, because availability of the water is quite less in the desert, right? Then what happens is, the dung also, the camel dung is also dry. Again, over here we can see what is happening. The conservation of water is taking place. Same concept, that the dung is quite dry so that the water is conserved. Then what happens is that they lose very little water through the urine and dung. That's why they can survive for a very long time. survival survival without water is seen for days, right? So it can survive without water or very little water for days. Whenever during say while traveling in the desert area, when it reaches a point where there is a water body like say oasis, over there the camel will drink all the plentiful water it needs, right? So in one time the camel can eat at least, it can drink at least 10 liters of water. So in that time it will drink all the water it needs, and then it can survive without water for a very very long time. The camel's hooves are such that it allows them to move easily in the desert sand. Also, the eyelashes of these camel are quite thick, right? This helps in during the sandstorm, right? So thick eyelashes do not allow the thick eyelashes. So these thick eyelashes do not allow the sand to enter into the eyes, especially during the sandstorms, right? So these are certain features which make the camel quite, you can say, a very successful animal of the desert, right? Now, when we move on from the camel towards the aquatic environment, say like we were discussing about the sea, so we know that the one of the major type of animal which is found in the sea is the fish. So what are the features that are present, what are the characters that are present in the fish which helps in the survival, right? So first of all, the body of a fish is streamlined, right? So first of all, it has a stream lined body, right? So what is the streamlined body? That means this body is narrow on the ends and it is wider in the middle, right? Over here you can see it is narrow in the ends and it is wider in the middle part, right? So this is a streamlined body which is in swimming helpful in swimming. So what happens exactly is that, suppose this is the streamlined body that we are talking about. So the water can easily flow like this and the forward movement of the fish becomes easy, right? So this is the helpfulness of a streamlined body. Then apart from that, the fishes have slippery scales, right? These slippery scales help the body help in easy movement, right? So are both of these feature helps in the easy movement in water, right? So example, you can see both of these fishes. How can you tell whether they are slippery or not? First of all, they are quite shiny, as you can see, and the surface is really smooth. So these scales being slippery helps in the movement in water, right? Then also the fishes have flat tails, flat fins and tails, right? Which further help them to change the direction while swimming, change the direction and keep balance. So it also helps in maintaining balance, right? So these two things happen, that is first of all the change in the direction and then maintaining the balance of the body of the fish. So what function these play, that is the fins and tails. So first of all, while swimming, the tail basically helps in changing the direction and for maintenance of the balance, right? Then another feature is the presence of gills. Now we talked about that how the oxygen that is mixed in the water have to be taken in by these animals. When we talk about the animals of the land, say for example camel, we know that lungs are there which help in the exchange of gases. But in the case of your fishes, there is gills, right? So this part over here contains gills, right? And these are the respiratory organs which allow the exchange of gases, right? So this is how the fishes obtain the oxygen that is dissolved in the water, right? So in this way we see how certain features of camel help them in survival in desert, whereas helps the fishes in survival in the aquatic environment, that means inside the water, right? So please remember all of these things, and this will help you in understanding that on the earth there are varieties of climatic areas, there are variety of landscapes, and thus the variety of habitats, right? And this change in the habitat requires certain features which help in the animals to survive. What are these features? These features, students, are called as adaptations. We have been using this word since the beginning of the chapter, right? What are so let's understand the definition also. So there is the presence of So there is the presence of specific features, right, or certain habits, right, certain habits of the animals which and plants also, which enable an organism to live naturally in a place. And these specific features are called as the adaptations, right? When a particular animal has certain features to live in a particular place, those kind of features are called as the adaptations. The examples can be given as the adaptations of your animals also, like the long legs in the case of camel. This again, right, is an adaptation which helps the camel in surviving the hot climate of the desert. Also, when we talk about, say, the long lashes, that is the eyelashes of the camel, also helps in the survival, right? So in this way we see certain the adaptations are certain features, specific features which makes that particular animal successful, right? Then there are certain habits also. When we say certain habits, the example can be in the case of camel, that it can drink a lot of water in one time. That is a certain kind of habit that helps in the survival, right? Again, when we talk about these adaptations, they differ, right, they differ depending on depending on the habitats. So in this way we see that the habitat of a particular animal actually dictates the kind of features and the habits that particular animal will have. That is why we see that the animal of a desert is quite different from the animal living in the mountain ranges. If we compare two animals, like those are similar animals, we can take a simple example. In the further chapter, you are going to study about mountain goat. So if you compare the mountain goat, right, with a simple goat that you might find around you, say the goat which is living on the land, say in the northern region of India, you will find, if you compare it with the simple goat, right, if you compare it with the simple goat, you will find the difference between the two quite drastic, right? Why is it so? Because the habitat is different. Now what exactly is habitat? Let's understand that. So habitat is a place where the conditions are favorable for the existence of living organisms, where it can survive, breed, and flourish, right? The habitat of a the habitat of an organism provides it with nutrition, provides it with uh, opportunity to breed, right? It is, you can say, the breeding ground, right? Provides the shelter and also provides protection, right? So these are all the favorable environment of an organism which helps it to flourish, right? When an organism is living in its natural habitat, you will see it will keep on flourishing, right? So in short, if we say, then habitat is the dwelling place. So dwelling place means home, right? So habitat is the dwelling place or home of the animals, right? So when we talk about the dwelling place, we can divide the dwelling place of animals on two, in two basic habitats. First is the terrestrial habitat, right? Terrestrial habitat is the habitat of the animals, those who are living on the land, right? So these include your mountains, right? These include your deserts, right? Plains, any terrestrial habitat that you can think of, that means any habitat which is of the land is a terrestrial habitat. Then you have the other kind of habitat, that is the aquatic habitat. That means the habitat which is in water, which is divided into two types. First is the sea water and other is the fresh water habitat, right? So you can see that the division in the terrestrial habitat are long. If we look at the list, it's quite long, but if we look at the division in the aquatic environment or aquatic habitat, there are only two. First is the sea and other is the freshwater types, right? So in freshwater we can include rivers, we can include ponds, right? Ponds, lakes, etc., right? So these are your two types of habitats. First is the land habitat, that is the terrestrial, and other is the freshwater habitat, that is the aquatic habitat. Now, once we've understood about habitats, let's talk about the components that are present in a particular habitat, right? So there are two main components which are present in a habitat, that is the biotic and the abiotic component. Any area, any kind of region is made of these two components. Around you also you will see that these components are present. Let's understand what are the biotic components and what are the abiotic components. So first of all the living organisms, all living organisms are your biotic components. These includes animals and plants both, right? So animals and plants, right? Both of these are your biotic components of a habitat. Then you have the abiotic components. These are the components which are non-living but have a huge influence on the biotic components. Now, if you remember the table again, when we go back to the table, there were certain things which we had, enumerated. Those were not living. What were those things? For example, if we talk about the forest area, we said there was water, right? The fresh water. Then we said there were rocks and pebbles, right? Rocks, pebbles. We said there were dead rocks and pebbles. Then we said there were dead animal and plants, right? In a forest area, we find soil. In, say, desert area, we find sand, right? Then temperature of a particular area, right? All of these are the abiotic component of a habitat. These components, as you can see, play a major role in determining that what kind of biotic components are present. Suppose if we talk about temperature, if the temperature of a certain area is low, that region will have a different habitation of the animal and plant from the area which has high temperature. So over here you can see how these abiotic components are helpful in manipulating the biotic component that are there, right? So these are your living components. In simple words, biotic are living, whereas the abiotic are the non-living components. But if we say living and non-living, we should not deteriorate, or we should not think that the importance of any of these is less, right? Now, next, we are going to perform a simple activity. What we are going to do is we are going to take these moves, we are going to take move or You can also take chana seeds, right? That is the gram seeds. And what we are going to do is we are going to keep it in water, right? When we'll keep it in water, we will not immerse them a lot in water. We will keep it moisturized. And what will happen that in this we are going to take few of the seeds. We are going to divide it into different groups. Say in group 1, right? In group 1 we keep the water dry, keep the moon seeds as dry. In group 2, what we'll do, we'll keep it submerged in water. Submerged in water. Then in group 3, we see what we do is we will keep it soaked and in sunny room, right? Then the group 4, what we are going to do is we are going to keep it in soaked and completely dark area, and in completely dark area, say for example in a cupboard also, right? In this case, always remember to change the water, right? Change the water, that is, you need to clean the water. And when when you're keeping it soaked, remember to keep it a little moisturized. It should not be submerged completely in water. So what we are going to do is also, there is another group that we are going to keep in the cold environment. That is, you can use your refrigerator for this. Cold, soaked and cold environments. That is, you can keep it in your fridge, right? What we are going to do is we are going to keep this setup for 3 to 4 days, maybe more, right? And then what we are going to observe, we are going to observe where the germination is taking place, right? What is germination? That means that when the seed is turning into sprout, right? When the starts turning into sprout, this process is called as the germination. So we are going to observe that where the germination will occur the quick in the fastest pace, and where the germination will not occur at all. So over here, when you will see that the group 3, that is soaked and is present in a sunny room, will germinate the fastest, right? And so on. Whereas you will see that group 1 do not germinate at all, right? So this will help you in understanding that how the factors like light, right? Temperature and moisture, right, will help in the growth of these sprouts. So this shows that how the abiotic are directly components are directly related to the survival of the biotic components. So in this way we understand that what is adaptation. This also helps in understanding adaptation, that these are the features, these are the changes or the methods through which the organism learns to survive in a particular environment. Now, there is one other phenomena which we also experience, and it is a very short-term phenomena. It is important to understand that so that we can differentiate it with adaptation, and that phenomena is called as acclimatization. Now, say for example, you have gone to a mountain range which is quite high, and what you will feel when you will reach there, you will feel shortness of breath. It will be really hard for you to breathe. When you're doing any kind of physical exercise, you will see that you will start deep breathing a lot, and you will see it will be difficult for you to carry on that exercise for a longer time, right? But after some time, say for example you have gone there for a 7-day vacation. Maybe first day you will feel all these kind of uneasiness, but from the second day onwards you will feel good and you will be able to survive in that environment. This process is called as acclimatization. That means whenever you are reaching into a new environment, your body there are certain small changes that take place in the body of a single organism that helps that helps that organism to live in that area. Say for example, if you go in Rajasthan, what will happen that you will, because of the hot temperature, you will pass little urine and concentrated urine. That means the water in the urine will be less. Similarly, if you go to mountain ranges, you feel cold and you may start urinating a lot, but after some time your body will get habitual, and when you return back, say to, if suppose you are living in northern area, say if you're living in Gurgaon, so when you return back to that area, you will start living, or your body will start performing the same functions that it was doing during the normal days. So these are small changes that take place in the body of a single organism over short periods to overcome small problems due to changes in the surroundings, and these are called as acclimatization. How is it different from adaptations? Adaptations occur over the generations of your organisms. That means it is the part of evolution, whereas acclimatization is not so. It is only for a short period of time and is concerned only with one organism. On the other hand, we see adaptation occurs in the species. If you talk about camels, so that adaptation that we talked about in this session will be present in all the camels that are present in a hot desert, right? So in this way, we see how acclimatization is different from your adaptations, right? So I hope you were able to understand the difference between the two. It's very, very crucial. It's a very important difference, and many a times people get confused with them, right? But please understand the importance of the difference between the two, right? Now, once we've understood about the habitats and the adaptations, let's now answer certain questions.